it's just about 1 o'clock. We've got a couple minutes. We're getting some chat going back and forth. I think maybe we will go ahead and get started here. Here I am. Okay, hello everyone. It's now Wednesday, the 22nd of February, and we're going to do a watercolor painting today. This is the fourth Wednesday of the month, and that's my usual schedule. So happy to see several people signed up. Apologize for the description of this. It actually says that it's a oil painting with a photo from Patrick Clark, and that's what I did last week. So I'm going to have to work out how these descriptions get synchronized with the event notifications. I don't want to confuse you and let you think I'm painting an oil painting when I'm doing watercolor. Anyway, this is an interesting photo that I received from a batch of photos that I purchased from another artist, one I follow regularly, by the way. His name is Johannes Floathouse. He's a Canadian artist, and he's considered by Northlight books to be sort of a master in oils, a master in watercolor, a master in pastels, and even a master in acrylics. So he has one book that's been published recently, and he gives regular lessons on his, you can get through the Northlight shops. And his last name is not spelled the way it's pronounced. It's Floathouse, V-L-O-O-T-H-U-I-S, Johannes Floathouse. So you might want to check him out on the internet, check out his website. I bought over 700 photos from him. He sells a package of photos. Unfortunately, he doesn't give them a name in terms of where they're from or whatever. It's just whatever the name was that the camera put on the photo. So this photo that I have from him is a place in, I believe it's in Rockport, Maine. It's certainly northeast coast. And when I looked at this, I've looked at this photo a number of times. I thought, that looks like a lot of difficult painting there. Got those weird angles with those light posts sticking up there, and they cover the houses. But the more I looked at it, the more I kind of liked it. I like the reflections in the water on this path. They give some nice reflectivity that we can demonstrate with watercolor that works very well. I've got a little ocean in the back, or the sea you can see, and the sky is kind of bland and gray, so I'm going to lighten it up, or color it up at least. I'm going to put some color in that sky. So we have several buildings here that we're going to be working on, and the grid, which I've had shown here for the last 15 minutes or so, shows you that it's laid out in a 5x4 grid, and the grid it fits nicely on a 16x20 canvas or watercolor paper. It also fits pretty well on 11x14, which is one of my favorite sizes to paint on. We're going to do 16x20 today, so when you do that, the grid is 4-inch squares, basically 4 inches, 5 across the top, and 4 inches, 4 along the side vertically. So this is what's been out there, and also I always make a value sketch. And if you weren't with me last week, I'm going to go over briefly how I did that, how I make these value sketches using Photoshop. The value sketch really tries to simplify the value pattern and try to get it into maybe 3 or 4 values at most, from a dark to light, mid-value dark, mid-value light. So this is my series of abstract shapes that represent this photograph, and it's going to be able to I'll be able to use that as a guide. You'll see that at the top of my easel when I go over there in a moment and start showing you that. And also the sketch then is on my easel. I'll show you that. I actually have that. I worked that out on 16x20 tracing paper, and then I put it over my watercolor paper and draw it in with sort of a red ink pen of sorts, so I can see where I've gone, where I haven't gone. This sketch, when this video gets out on my website, it gets out on the internet, it will be out on my website, and you can find that by going to my website and looking at the free YouTube lesson page, And on there, there's a list of every video I have ever made and put on YouTube with a link to the video. And if there's a sketch associated with that video, there's a little word sketch at the end of that link, and you can click on that and it will bring up the sketch, and you can download it, print it out, whatever. Take it to your local print shop and have it expanded to 16 by 20 if you want to do that, and use it as a tracing tool. And I will get ready and move over to my easel now, and we'll get started on this. I'll go over the paints over there, and I'll go over the brushes. And there is my easel, and I'll leave my computer and walk over here, turn a couple lights around so I have a little more light on my easel than I do on my computer stand. And once I walk all the way across the studio, which is all of about 3 steps, I get to my easel. So here I am, and we're ready to go. I want to thank you again for joining me today, and remind you, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, but type them in capital letters if you would. That would help me see that stand out from any other chat that's going on in this live broadcast, and I can see that as a question I need to try to answer real time. So with that said, let me flip over to my palette here and show you the palette and the brushes. As those of you who follow me before know, that I typically have been using for watercolors, I have a palette and a set of brushes from a gentleman named Sterling Edwards, who is he's a watercolor painter from Henderson, North Carolina. I follow him. I've taken several workshops from him, and he has a unique set of brushes that typically watercolor painters don't use. That being said, they are a bristle type brush. These actually have very short bristles, not like the long haired bristles of a oil painting brush. He has a small, medium, and large hair that he uses for wetting the paper, for creating blended effects. He calls them blending brushes. I have that set of 3. I have a couple of flats. I have a number 1 inch flat rather, a 1/2 inch flat. I have 3 rounds. I have a 12, number 8, and a number 4 round, and I have a rigger, script liner, you call it, rigger, either one. And that said, let me go over the paints while they're here. Well, you see them large on the screen because I do actually make this palette smaller, and I'll put it in a corner so it doesn't overlay my entire painting. These are My Mary Blue paints, Italian, beautiful transparent Italian watercolors, and I use neutral tint, primary blue cyan, ultramarine blue, ultraviolet, crimson lake, primary red magenta, cadmium red, burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre. I have cupric green, sap green, limon yellow, primary yellow. Inside I have burnt umber, still de grain brown, and Auvergne orange. I have a couple other colors here, but basically lamp black and titanium white. I rarely use those, but there are some paintings that I might use those on. And I just noticed here I have a thing from outside. I was painting outdoors yesterday, and I actually got some things falling off of trees landed in my palette here. I'll get that out very quickly, and don't want to paint with that. We had a nice outing here in Florida yesterday with the Lakeland Art Guild, and we actually went to a golf course and took golf carts and went out on the course and found places where there were lakes and trees, and had some very nice time painting together. So anyway, that's what I did yesterday, and I see my palette's a little bit messed up, but that won't be too big of a problem. Let me put this palette on here somewhere, and so you can see it. There we go. Okay, I'll move it down here on the right corner. And I also wanted to show you, I guess I'm going to take that off for a minute. The paper here is, this is my sketch, and this is the tracing paper. I worked out my basic sketch on using ruler and things like that, which give me nice sharp angles. And then I put it over transfer paper and transferred it onto my watercolor paper. So that's basically how I do that. The only unfortunate part is that some of this graphite that gets on here is fairly dark. And so I have a kneaded eraser here that I'm going to use, and I want to finish the top of this here, kind of like that. There was another thing on top of it. There, and we have a couple of lines like this that kind of go between some of these poles, and then from this pole back to here, there's some lines here that go between the poles. So I want to try to get some of that graphite off. When I do that, you won't be able to see it very well. So I kind of leave it here for you to look at, but if I leave too much on there, it kind of shows through the painting, and I don't want to have a lot of this graphite showing through. So I use my kneaded eraser and just sort of give it a once over, and it just picks up a lot of this excess graphite and helps me thin it down a little bit so it's not quite as noticeable. And it unfortunately makes it harder for you to see it, but I don't want to turn out a painting with a lot of graphite in it. Have a lot of rocks in this painting, have a lot of buildings. Let's see here. Pretty good there. Okay, now you probably can't see that at all. That's the unfortunate part, but anyway, we have it cleaned off. You notice at the top of my easel I have my photograph here on the left side that I'm basing my sketch off of, and then I have my value map on the right side. So these areas that along here in front of the rocks, there's a big dark shape here on the right side that I'm going to try to preserve. The sky right now in this photograph had nothing going on. It was basically pure white, almost off-white anyway. So I'm going to put a few clouds in there, give some shape. I got a big area here. There's one of the composition rules that I follow pretty diligently, and not originally my idea, but I got it from one of my fellow painters. Says that if you have 2-inch square anywhere on your painting, if you have a painting about this size or smaller, if you have an area that's about 2-inch square, you want to have something going on in there. You want to have an object, you want to have some value change. So I use this little thing called a viewfinder, and I can set it up to any different sizes. This is great for outdoor painting, by the way. I use it on my plein air painting. But if you go across your painting and you look at it in 2-inch squares, you want to have something going on in every square. Something almost like a painting, or at least abstract shapes going on everywhere. So I have areas like this roof over here that's going to be very large area that I want to have something going on, but the sky is particularly, when I go across here, I see there's 2, 4, 6, maybe 8 inches, 2, 4, 6, 8, have a big area here that has nothing going on. So I don't want to just leave that white like the photograph, off-white. I want to put something in there. I want to put some sky in there. I'm going to put some clouds in there, even though it was a very gray day. But remember that as a composition technique. If you can look at your painting objectively and see if there's areas where there's nothing going on, try to make something go on in there. I have another area over here that's going to have a lot of shrubs and bushes in it, so I'll fill that up. But the sky basically had nothing going on. So I want to get going. Let me put my palette back on for you. And I'm just taking clear water, and I'm going to wet this sky area here. And this paper I'm painting on today is Fabriano Artistico. It's an Italian paper. And it's 300-pound cold press paper, 16 by 20, and it holds a ton of water. When I paint vertically like this, however, I can't put as much water on it as I would if I were painting flat. I want to make sure that I have it as wet as I can get it down here, at least for the sky, and if I need more water later on, I'll put more on. But basically, I'm using this big old bristle brush. It's got about bristles that are like 3/4 of an inch long, and it really holds a lot of water, holds a lot of paint, and it can really wet your paper very, very easily, very fast. The bigger brush does that. Okay, so let's start out here. I'm going to put some of this cyan blue in that sky. It's a blue that has a bit of a green cast to it, I guess. It's hard to see the green in it, but the blues, I have my two blues. Basically, one has violet in it and one has a little bit of green in it, and that's really the two blues you need. You don't need a central blue. See what happens here. So I'm making clouds now by painting around them and just letting this brush sort of do whatever it will here. Stuff over here, I'm going to paint over that something darker. As long as I'm painting something darker over this lighter color, I don't have to worry too much about it. But I'm just making interesting shapes here that represent clouds. Put a little bit of this Crimson Lake here. Put it down here as we get closer to the water line. This is the water line down here, right here. And the water is going to be probably a little darker color, but put just a little bit of that in there. And keep it from running out too much. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that very well. It's kind of light. I might put a few more dark touches. One thing about painting skies in watercolor is you don't want to spend a lot of time in there messing with them. If I keep going back in here, I'll start getting blossoms and runs and all that sort of stuff, so I don't want that kind of thing going on in here. That's going to be in the roof. I don't want that. Okay, so I just wanted something different on this side, different than what I had on the left side. I don't want the two corners to look alike. And it helps to really push out some of these clouds here by putting a little dark behind them. You can actually, as that dries off, I can come back and even put in a few more dark shapes behind it that will help it look like there's some darker sky back there. Okay, I better stop. I'll be wishing I had stopped. Okay, great. That's pretty much the sky, folks. Doesn't take long. Using brushes that are 1.5 inches wide, you can cover a lot of paper, a lot of canvas or whatever in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and I want to put in just a little of the, I think I can put in that water back there. Maybe that's still too wet. Water line, I want to get that horizontal water line in there if I can. I'm going to get my flat brush here and pick up a little darker blue. Some of my ultramarine blue with a little purple in it, maybe even put a little purple in that. See if I can just pop it in here without getting too much. Paint over these rocks. Not much water back here to see. It is a coastal scene, but I don't have a whole lot of water to work with. Okay, that will do what I want for that. It's darker than the photograph. When I edit the video, I'll overlay the photograph on here in certain spots and let you see what it looks like and how I'm changing it. I don't get too hung up on matching the colors of a photograph unless it's a specific type of, I don't know, emotional or something that has a dramatic effect that I'm trying to match. Typically, I just kind of go from the feeling I have when I'm painting and leave it at that. Okay, this is a little bit wet here, a little bit wet over there. This, I'll pick up some Auvergne orange and some of my still to grain brown and see if I can get this orangish, reddish color. Maybe even put a little of my burnt umber in here. So we're going to start here. See, it's going to be too wet probably. Yeah, it's going to bleed. So here, this roof has a reddish color. Pick up some other colors, maybe a little more of this orange over here. See, I told you I wanted this big area. I wanted to change the color, change something to make it not look all the same color, same value. Change the value, change the color, something. So I put some red in there. I've got this little blossom going here because, why? That paper was wet. And I got in there too fast. The big chimney, it's not, I thought it was a chimney at first, but it's not. It's actually another roof, part of the roof there. I'm going to come back and put in a little bit of an eave on the right side here underneath. Like this. These square brushes make for wonderful architectural objects. In here, I want this to be even darker. It's I'm going to put a little pick up a little bit of my neutral tint here to darken this down even more in this area. So I'm going to let a little bit of that bleed. Okay. Okay, let's take a little more of that dark. I'll come up here. This is actually another roof going up here like this. So that's going to bleed a little bit, but I can come back and restate that edge there. And that'll be the part of the house. That's part of the house that's looking out this way. And this area down here is probably even darker yet. Pick up a little of my violet and put in there, see if I can darken it down a little more here. I'm going to have to watch where my palette is. The outgoing stream has my palette going out right here. So when I start painting in this area, I have to remember to switch my palette to another area. When I'm editing the video in my studio, my computer studio, I can see that because each video camera has its own video track, and so I can always see where I'm overlaying my palette, painting underneath the palette, I guess I should say. Able to edit it and make a nice outgoing video. When I'm broadcasting live, I have to constantly turn and check the outgoing monitor here, which I have behind me, and I have to check it to make sure that it's streaming what I want to stream out to you guys. Okay, there's some nice color and nice brown in there. I'm going to add a little bit of color, add some of this Auvergne orange. These colors are so transparent and they're so nice to work with. I really like them. Probably have told you that. Paint around the rocks. There's some big rocks sitting here. And I'm not trying to paint a perfect square or a perfect one color building, even though that's the way it is in the photograph. I want these brush marks and some of this other stuff in here to give me this sort of a texture. It's actually some sort of siding that's on this building. There we go. Okay, I'm going to leave that window till later. But I can come back and put some dark shadows here in some areas. Okay. Go back and touch up this area up here. I think it's dry enough now, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, so that's sort of my big dark shape over here on the right side. It's actually got some more dark in here with the bushes and that sort of thing, but these rocks sort of have a light brown tan to them. And show you a good trick for painting rocks that have some sort of a shadow or have a highlight on the top of them. Most rocks have some sort of a highlight. Because this was such a gray day, I don't think they had a lot of highlight on these rocks. But I'm going to take my raw sienna, sort of a sandy color, and I'll probably mix some other browns with that, and maybe even some darks to get some darker values in there. I'll put some more neutral tint over here. I'm making up several colors that I want to be in those rocks. But first, before I start painting, I'm going to take my brush and take some clear water and just sort of come along here at the bottom of this and put some clear water on this rock right here. And you'll see what that does. This water has a little bit of a color in it. So I can see where it is anyway. And then I come back and I want to take this part of this rock color and just sort of put it in here like this. And I get this nice rounded softness that I can bring down and put some shadow on this side because it is does go in and out of the light. And I'm leaving a highlight on top of that. So you can see there's a bit of a highlight on top of that rock. And if I want it even darker, usually if you can get 3 values in a shape, light, medium, and dark, you'll end up giving yourself some nice three-dimensionality. Okay, that's looking like some sort of a rock that's got a little highlight on it up there. I may want to paint that highlight out a little bit later, so I don't leave so much white there, because the whites will actually pull your eye to them. And I'm going to put a little more water on this rock here, on the bottom of it. Come back with my bigger brush and just start popping in some bit different color. These rocks all had the same color pretty much, if you noticed in the photograph. But we're using artistic license here. And we are painting in colors that we think make the rocks look proper, and add some change to them and variation. So I'm using my 1/2-inch brush to sort of paint in the clear water here. And I'm going to come back with my big 1-inch brush and keep going on this to try to get some more color change in here. There's a bit of a rock back here. Darker, pull up some burnt umber, put in there. Put some shadow over here. Maybe, I think there was a dark V-shaped shadow like right in here. So we'll put that in, maybe pop a little bit over here. So I hope I'm giving you the impression of a bunch of rocks here that are on this side of this house or cabin or whatever you want to call it. And some more of this. So I keep turning around. I have a monitor behind me. I think I told you that. And I can see what the outgoing video stream is, and whether I like it or not, and what it really looks like to you guys. Again, if I want to remind you, if you have any questions, something you'd like me to answer while I'm painting, I have another computer right up here at my left elbow, and I can actually check it out and see what you're writing. The capital letters will tell me that it's something you want to have answered. I'm going to back up just a little bit here, and make sure you see the whole area here I'm painting. Okay, so kind of looks like a pile of rocks. It's probably not dark enough, dark as I'd like to have it, but come back in and put in a few more dark spots in here, maybe sort of separate these rocks a little bit better, and show you some shadows and pull up a few things with my wet brush here to sort of blend them in to the top, maybe even. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that alone for a while. I may come back and put a light glaze over that to get rid of a lot of those white spots over there. and I'm going to be glazing in this window over here as well. So that's pretty much that building. Probably could put a few more, look at this roof here, put a few more things on this roof to sort of tie it together. Make it darker. Okay, so that gives me that fairly dark shape there that I wanted on that end. And speaking of rocks, I've got a whole lot more rocks back in here. This is a whole field of rocks or bed of rocks back in here. So I'm going to pick up some of my other colors, kind of change them up a little bit so they're not quite the same color of brown. I'm going to throw some reds in it. And my still to grain brown over here. Pick him up. And I think I want to do the same thing, pretty much try to repeat that same idea with putting in some clear water top of these rocks in some areas. There's another neat technique I'll show you with either a credit card or you can use a razor blade of some kind if you have it. I'm just sort of softening in some of this area here where these rocks are. There's rocks down here. So I think I'm going to stick with my 1/2-inch brush now that I have it. But out here we've got a bunch of these little long rocks that lay out here. Like that. Pick up some other dark colors and put the darker colors at the bottom. Darker value, I should say. Okay, got another convert to watercolors there, it sounds like. Angie? Is it Angie Mazai? Yeah, thanks for your comment. Watercolors are fun. They're a little bit challenging because you have to worry about controlling a bunch of stuff. And watercolor doesn't like to be controlled. You have to worry about the water in the paper, the water in the brush, and the water in the paint. And so as you try to control that stuff, you will find that it's a lot more difficult to control maybe than other mediums, simply because it's there are a lot of variables, and it's a lot less forgiving because you can't just paint over something like you do in oils or acrylics, or even pastels for that matter. Can't just paint over it with another color, because when you do that, the water in the new color will lift up the color that's under there, and you end up getting mud many times. And people don't like paintings with mud in them. Some gray rocks out here. I'm going to gray it up a little bit, put in a few more things here, paint around this building. We have a little porch here on the back of this, or a deck on the back of this house that I want to try to preserve if I can. Okay, we'll go here. I'm losing some of my water here. I have to more. I don't know if that's going to The technique I was talking about before with using a credit card or something like that is if you put in, say, a dark color here like this over here. I keep a little razor blade. It's like this. If the water is just the right amount of water in that paint, you can actually take this or a credit card and scrape over it. And when you do that, you get this nice rough texture. I don't know if you can see that well. You zoom in real quick here and let you see if you can see that, what I'm doing. Scrape it like this, and it sort of gives you this rough texture over the rocks and sort of carves them out for you. See, I'm getting a lot of bleeding here going up because I wet that. But the top of this rock, you can see how that gave a nice rough texture to it. This is a trick that many artists will use when they're trying to paint rocks. By just scraping out a little bit, you give it an interesting texture, and it looks a lot like a rock. So here I may put a little bit more, come back and put some more of this dark in here, and we'll try that again over here, just so you can kind of get the effect of it. I may not make a perfect painting out of this because I want to show you some of these techniques, but the idea is that you can get some very nice rough texture on your rocks by using something as simple as a credit card or a razor blade. And if you scrape it out too soon, before it's the right amount of wetness, it fills back in. If you scrape it out too late, you try to scrape it out, nothing happens. This is dry up here. I'm not getting anything when I scrape in there. So the idea is to try to practice so you get the right amount of water and the right amount of wetness in your painting, and learn how to do that. It's a neat trick for making rocks. So I just want to put in some more dividers in here to sort of make it look like there's rocks back here a little more. And as I turn around and look at it, it looks pretty decent. I got a few more rocks to lay along the side of the road here. This road has a gray, sort of a gray color to it here. That's way too dark. But with watercolor, you can come in and just sort of I'm using pretty much back out here. Make sure I don't lose you. What's the wrong way here? Okay, so I'm just sort of using some neutral tint and painting in here this roadway that's mostly gray and runs into it's narrower at the back. It actually runs around, it runs in front of these houses all the way up here, but we're going to paint over all of that so you won't see it. So I'm just going to come down here and continue to paint this road in. And I'm going to leave places in this road where it's rough texture, and I'm going to leave room for some reflections in here, some areas. When I say rough texture, I mean taking the brush and moving it fast over the paper. Because this is 300-pound paper, there's a lot of bumps in it. When you want that rough texture, you just do something like that. pull it kind of fast, and you see that, that's called rough texture. You can do that for making water. You can do that for making roads. It's just that you're pulling the brush over the paper faster than the paint will get down in the grooves, the little bumps in the paper, because of it has this rough texture to the paper. So I'm pretty much painting the right side of this painting first. And, whoops, wrong color there, folks. Pick up neutral tint. You put a little blue in it over here to sort of start reflecting the sky. I'm going to be putting in a number of these. Down here, this all goes off the page. Down here. Need a bigger brush for this, but once I get started with a brush, sometimes I don't think about changing it up. Okay, so see my road? I actually zoomed in too far on there, didn't I? There we go. So if I'm not streaming this out to you, when I finish editing my video, I have 3 cameras running, one overhead with my palette, one straight on that you see now, and one that's on the side over there which you cannot see. So when I stand in front of my painting, or I get it to the point where I don't show you something I want you to see on the final video, when I do my final edits, I'll fix that. I think I need my bigger brush. I'm driving myself crazy here with this little brush. So these are all like mud puddles or water puddles that kind of give some reflectivity. So I'm going to come back and put a little glaze. When that dries, I'll come back and glaze in some other color, maybe the sky color, maybe just a neutral gray, some kind that's lighter than this that's on the ground. So I'm getting a lot of this covered. So I'm not trying to match the photograph right now. I'm just sort of making sure that I have a number of abstract shapes. I don't want circles, I don't want squares, don't want triangles, I want abstract shapes. So that's what I'm trying to give here. Okay, I don't know if that quite looks like a road exactly, but it's what it's supposed to be. All right, I'm going to pick up some more of my darks here and sort of put in a little bit of this bank, or it's like the edge of the road here that runs underneath these rocks. This is fairly dry back here, so I can kind of pop these things in. Tells you where that road is going. And there's just a little bit of it over here like that. Okay, so that's sort of the edge of the road, and if I want to sort of blend that together in some spots, I can kind of pull it out and give myself some shadows and some change of value. so that it's not all, again, it's not all one color. Somebody asked me if I normally paint flat, except when I'm videoing. Well, I've gotten so used to painting vertically anymore that even when I give demonstrations somewhere else, it really helps for people to see what you're doing if you paint vertically. So I'm kind of giving myself a challenge most of the time to keep painting vertically. I find it's easier on my back as well. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to put a few more maybe dark areas here to sort of break up this so it's not all the same value. So I'm not even looking at the photograph anymore. I may look at it here shortly to check on some of the building architecture, but basically I'm just kind of putting in what I think makes it look like a road with a lot of marks in it. Usually I use photographs for reference, and then at some point during every painting, I just totally get away from the photograph. It's just no use to me, particularly because I'm trying to make a composition that holds together, and the photograph may or may not support that idea by the time I get this far along. So I'm putting another little bank here, runs along this side of the road, dark colors, dark value I should say. And we're going to put some other things on top of that. Okay, so basically I've painted most all of this right-hand side here. I've got some things to do over here on the right. I'm going to pop in just a few gray areas on top of these rocks here, maybe to sort of take some of that whiteness out. Again, I'm using fast strokes, very quick like that. And I'm basically hitting it and letting whatever paint comes off the brush come off the brush. Totally out of control. It's up to the brush and the paper. And however I decided I wanted to do this. Okay. There's some yellowish grasses. I'm going to try to stay away from putting green in this painting if I can. But there's some grasses laying here that's sort of dead and dying, or it's just winter time and they're dormant. So I'll throw in some little things like this to give myself some, can't even see that, can you? It's my little things here that look like, I'm trying to make little sticks out of them or something. I can come back when that's dry and hit it again. I've got a bush here, I've got some trees that stick out up here, and I've got to do my windows over here on the right. Let me see here if I can, maybe I'll just go ahead and do those windows now and be done with that, pretty much with that side of the painting. I'm mixing up some blue and a little bit of burnt sienna. Burnt sienna and ultra blue will make a nice gray. And if you want it to be the brown side of gray, you put more burnt sienna in it. If you want it to be more to the blue, you put some more blue in it. So over here, excuse me, I thought that was just about the width of my brush, but not quite. When I'm not talking, I'm thinking. Okay, and then as that dries, I may come back and put another little light glaze over it like I did this white down here on the lower right. Okay, let me stop here and step back and take a look. I think I've got the easy building done and some of the easy stuff done there, the rocks. And these other buildings are a little tougher, they're a little smaller, but we'll get them. I like the way that sky came out because I wet that first and let that paint just sort of blend and mingle and merge. Left a very nice soft set of clouds, and you can see some color change in it. So that's, I'm happy with that. Kind of get lucky there. Sometimes you get lucky. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to put that back over there. And we're going to start on these buildings now. Again, these have sort of a boring, bland color to them. I don't know if it's a function of this area of the country where they have these buildings that are like this, but I'm going to try to match some of them. See what this looks like. It's a sort of a yellowish, has more ochre in it than that. So I'm putting yellow ochre in there. That's what I have on my palette. And don't stick with one color. Change it up. If it's going to have a warm cast to it, put the warmth at the top. Put the cool cast to the bottom. So I'm putting some of this bluish gray in there for the bottoms of this. And I'm making it warm as I go to the top. Gives a nice, pleasing contrast. And you know, the building itself, if you look at the photograph, is basically one sort of a yellowish color. But that's not what artists do. Leaving some room for some bushes in here. Got some rocks. There's another building back here that's really got the same type of stuff on it. Slightly different color, but so I'm just sort of filling it in here. Change the color a little bit, bring it down here, put a change of value, change of color. That's what makes watercolor so interesting. It's really easy to do that by dropping in different colors. You can kind of show age, so something that's got some age to it by just putting in these different colors. I don't want to do too much on this. Leave room for some bushes back there. I got some more rocks I didn't finish over here. Pick up some of this cad red. Put this little deck on back here behind this guy. I think I should have, before I do that, I should have put in a little bit of a background. I have no background behind this deck, so let me just put a light coat back here, and I'll come back when that dries and finish it off. Okay, and I can use that as a background to my deck, and I'll put a darker value over that, and I'll basically show you there's a deck out there. My colors for this roof here are sort of a blue-gray, steel gray of some sort. So let's put that in like right here. I'm painting the way the roof flows, left to right. Takes longer, but any brush stroke that you see in there helps tell the story. There's a little bit of a roof back here, not much. Can't see too much back there. Leaving a little white border between if I can. Let's see, oh, this little protrusion out here on the right side. Is the same color, pretty much. Pick up a few changes of color. Come down like this. Okay. All right. That little roof that sticks out here on this side right here. Put just a very light flat brush is great for this stuff. Got some of that's wet, don't want to do that. All right, that's hard for you to see probably, but I'll let it go at that. Okay, now this building in here, let's see if I can paint around him okay. He's got a roof, sort of a grayish roof here. I'm painting around this light pole. So these are just sort of interesting shapes sitting back here that by their angles you know they're buildings. It's a conglomeration of 2 or 3 buildings. Actually, it was really hard for me to separate them on the sketch I was doing. Let's see here. It's even hard now. I think I left off part of the drawing here, actually. There was another area here that had another roof line, like right in here, came down. Okay, and there's a set of bushes and stuff that goes in here that sort of covers this area up. Kind of missing it on the sketch. I think it's on the original sketch. I just didn't transfer it when I was doing my transfer. Okay, I want to put a little building in here. There, like that. And that one up above here, that side has this similar color on it. Coming down somewhere like that. Okay. Put this over there like that. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's looking slightly more realistic. I got a front of this building right here. This part of the building needs to be darker right there. Have you heard me talk about the plane change accent? That's thing right here where the side of one building goes out of the light. If there's light coming from this side, from the left, which there is, that's how I've actually drawn all my other parts of this painting. Light is coming from the left. As this goes out of the light, this face of this building here, it's got to be darker right at that junction, right at the corner of that building. And in art school, they would tell you that's a change plane accent, where the plane changes direction and goes out of the light. You give it a little more shadow, an accent. Okay, how about this up here? I'll put in a few things. Get rid of some of these whites. Okay, on this other, front of this other building here, I'm going to kind of use the same color, I think, color scheme over here. Put a little warmth in there. Okay, that one. I'm going to pick a little of my blue and a little bit of my, so I wasn't going to put any green in here, but one of these buildings actually has a little bit of green on it. I think even the roof of this other building is a little bit, it's hard to tell. Back here we're going to go get this roof. I think I'm almost standing in the way of my camera, I don't know. I get so engrossed I forget where my cameras are. But I do know my side angle camera over there on the right side is picking up the full picture here, so I can put that on later if I need to. Blend these things together a little bit. Okay, and then this front of this building, the front of this dormer or whatever you want to call it, sticks out, has more red in it. Red with dark brown. So I'm going to see if I can capture that in here. I need more red. Too much red. Come on, get the right color here, folks. So I'm painting around the window that sticks out here, and I'm painting around this light pole that goes up, all with a flat brush. Could use smaller brushes for this, but I'm a little stubborn today. Okay, so now you can see that this light pole crosses right through that building. Okay, how are we doing on time, folks? Looks like I've been painting for almost an hour, a little over an hour. Started before that, but my painting, I have a clock I start when I start painting, and too much blue in there. All right, all of this reddish color in here now. That's not in the photograph that way, but hey, we're ad-libbing some stuff here now. All right, I'll do that, leave that alone. Move over to my next and last building over here with a little bit of a bluish roof on him. Getting a little bit of running into that. I've got another light pole to paint around over here. Pick up some of this color and pop it in right here. So I have a whole set of buildings here that are kind of stacked on top of each other, and it's a bit of work to paint them, but it's kind of fun. See here if I can get the front of this building now, paint around this light pole. It's a little bitty one because it's pretty far back. Okay, now that, we got poles, we got some trees, some windows to finish in here. Maybe even a little bit of, pick up a little bit of this grayish color I have and sort of come back and touch on top of these rocks here. I have that, I put that, what do you call it, the decking on the back of this house. I think that's dry now. So I'll pick up a color that's darker than what's there. May not even be representative in the photograph, but I'm going to make a sort of a reddish color here. Maybe more red than that. Too much red. All right, we're going to put a thing here that looks like a post. I need more. I'm going to darken it up. It's not showing up like I want. There's a post. There's a post. Still just a little bit wet back there, but okay, it's a little hard for you to see, but basically it's a little bit of a deck on the back. I've got rocks in here to paint yet, so I'm going to come back and put some of those in. Gray on top. These are small rocks. Sort of line the road, if you will. Just popping in the colors that are there, and come back and put some darker shadows under there. So hopefully make those stand out a little more. A lot of rocks. These are small ones. Okay, I think that's probably going to do it for that area. And where's paper towel here? All right, so I'm zeroing in on this thing. I see an area here that needs some more shadow. Here and here. Okay, so these are a little bit further back, they're a little bit lighter than the ones in the foreground. And I think I'm gonna show you another little trick for painting trees. Back in here, I've got some trees. I got some trees over here, but these are, I may have changed those and make them trees are in bloom. This is supposed to be like a fall scene. If you take a brush, like I'm using a round, this number 8 round now, I just want to sort of pop in some things with rough texture here. I don't know if I'm getting that yet, but I don't like the way that looks. But I'm going to put these in. I'll come back and draw in some, can look like another rock of some kind. Put that in as a base color, and then I'm going to come back and put in some branches that help define that as a sort of a bush that's sitting out there in the corner. I just didn't let you see that with the streaming video. Let me go in here, and I'm going to, up here, I'm going to pop in some clear water in some areas just above this roof line here. Try not to put it, I don't want to put enough in to lift up my underpaint, my sky color. But I want to do that, and then I'm going to come back and pick up my rigger and pop in some things that sort of blow out like this, and as they get out here where there's no water, they sort of, you see the distinction on them. You see the this area here, I'm going to just sort of blend it in with the side of my brush like I did before. Put in some leaves, put in some things that sort of stand out. This is not the way the photograph was, but these are sort of maybe they're leaves that just haven't fallen off the trees yet back there. And actually that tree in the photograph is actually in front of this building, so I'm actually moving that tree to the rear and putting in a couple, 3 values. When you take a brush like this and just touch it over dry paper, you get those very nice little wispy type things that look like they're like dead leaves or something hanging out there. Probably putting more of these in than I should, but I wanted to show you this technique. It's great for painting trees where the leaves are starting to turn, starting to fall off, and I'm just touching with the side of the brush. I'm not trying to paint every one of those little dots. And the other thing you can do, if I bring back my razor blade, is now that that's got a certain amount of wetness, I can come in here and put in a few scrape outs like this. If I scrape it, fills back in because it's still too wet. If I let that dry for a little bit, then when I scrape it out, it'll turn white, the paper underneath. Still too wet. If I put scrapes in like this, they fill back in and it becomes dark. I'm going to let that set for a few seconds and see if I can show you some white. This is too dry, I'm sure. Yeah. So this down here I put in is too dry. I can't do anything with it. So I'm going to have to come back and put in my a bunch of my these kind of things here. Using my I guess this is my number 4 round. Get myself some nice dark colors here. Neutral tint, burnt umber, and just start putting in these. They're just sort of thicker and bigger at the bottom. I'll come back with my rigger and put in some very fine lines. That's the rigger. Here's the rigger. Okay, this rigger has long, spindly bristles on it. And I can come in and put in some very fine stuff in here like this. So it's letting you see that's a sort of a bush that's definitely lost its leaves. And I'll put a little bit up here on the front of this building so you can actually see that it's in front of it. Darker down here in the bottom. Okay. Now, so that tree up there, I probably forgot about it. It's probably too late now. No, nothing's scraping out. Okay. Anyway, you can see some nice soft branches that I put in just with the side of this round brush. So I'm going to do something similar over here now. Wet it down in areas where I want those trees to go. And clear water. Over here, same thing. So I'm going to start bringing in now some sort of grayish, bluish trees. Those are a little further back. So I'm going to put a little more blue into my gray. And a good bit of water, and just where that water is, and I'm going to just touch it there and I can see where the water is because it's you can see where the water is because it's bleeding on me. You see it bleed? So I'll take some of the water out of my brush, and then I can start up here and put in these little things again that look like really soft tree branches, soft tree. Again, I'm just using the side of this brush. Just tapping it, laying it down. Same color on both sides of this pole here. Another pole back here. Because this is a light color, I can put that pole in afterwards and paint right over it, and it won't be a problem. I'm just sort of leaving it out so you can see what's going on back there. I'm going to add a little more brown to this now, get some more other colors. Pick up a few of my reds, maybe my Auvergne orange. Pick that up. I haven't used that for a while. Put some of that in here. So if I just come in here now and take this brush and just sort of tap it and use the dry edge, I start getting some beautiful colors, beautiful changes. Go back and get some of my gray. Another good design technique or idea is whenever you have something like this that you're painting behind, make sure that you carry the color that's on this side over to this side. Otherwise, it's going to look like, if you change the color, it's going to look like you're going to know you changed the color. And it's not going to look like it's part of the contiguous landscape. So the idea is to make sure that you paint behind something, you use the same color coming out on the other side that you used going in. Now I'm putting in some ochre. Picked up a little ochre. I'm going to start popping in these things up here and start coming back. I'm throwing some more of this gray color, steel gray, if I can get it in there. Give myself some darker colors. See the change in value, what that does? Just makes that all stand out. It makes it all look three-dimensional, like there's a lot of bushes back here. And they are. They're actually in the middle ground or foreground up here where we are. So that's got plenty of blue in it. I'm going to pop in some more ochres. All done with this flat brush that's got not much in it, but some water, and pick up some more ochre. So far I've stayed away from green. Whatever green is coming out of this is coming out because I've got some ochre and blue running together here. Paint around this pole, other side of the pole, same color. So this big area I was worried about over here that had all this clear paper with nothing going on, I've been able to fill it in with these different colors that make it look like something's going on. If you let some of them dry, like right in here, I don't know if you can see that, but it started drying above, and I came back with this other color below it, and it made it stand out. More ochre down here. It's just a lot of freehand abstract painting of shapes. And when that dries, I'm going to come back and put some more stuff on top of it. Since these are transparent colors, it will show through very nicely, and I can see the undercolor. Okay, everybody still with me? Looks like we got a good crew still watching here. Really appreciate you all tuning in. Remember, mark your calendars if you aren't getting notification when I'm painting. Third Wednesday, I'm doing oil paintings. Fourth Wednesday, I do watercolors. So I'm going to try to stick to that schedule as long as I can this year. Some dark in here. Mixture of ochres and grays. I'm getting blossoms in here because I put a brush full of paint and water over paper that was already wet. And when those dry, they're going to look like little bushes. So sometimes you don't mind having little blossoms in your painting. Most people want to avoid that, and I usually do. Another little trick here with one of these bristle brushes. It's really great for, get me some of this ochre in here. It's really great for making these types of things that go like that. You see those? By just flicking up with these, every bristle becomes a brush, and when you flick up, you make that thing paint 1,000 little things that look like they're bushes or scrub grass or something that's sticking up. So it's a nice tool to use for that. don't like to overuse it because it looks contrived too much if you do, but it is great for putting in some defining marks that show where you've got grasses growing around light poles, for example, or like down here might be a good place if I had some dark enough, right in here maybe. Something like that. Even show the lay of the land as it comes down toward this road here. Just the brush strokes themselves tell you what's going on usually, if you can get define those brush strokes. So that's what one thing these brushes are good for. Okay, now I've got to do, see my windows over there on the right side. I'm going to come in and put a very light glaze, sort of a brownish blue glaze over these things. See, I'm just sort of toning it down so you can, so it doesn't stand out too distinctly. Kind of a wet brush with this. If I go fast and don't dilly-dally over the paint that's there, it will basically cover it up, and now it doesn't stand out. The white specks, you have to kind of look at them and decide whether you want all of them standing out that much or not. So it's always a good idea to come back and try to take out some of those white spots when they're too white, too bright. Okay, I think that's pretty well done. I'm going to, I got some other windows here I could paint in. Get my bluish color here. Okay. So somebody says the biggest thing they've learned is don't copy. Yeah, well, it's easy to do. If you try to copy the photographs, you get yourself all frustrated. And sometimes it's better just to leave them alone and use it as a guideline. And there's a little window up here. So when you look at compare the photograph with my painting, rarely will my painting have the same colors or same values as the painting. It might have the value map that I use that guides me, but it will not look entirely different than the photograph for sure. Okay. All right, I'm just sort of fine-tuning some of these areas back here that need a little bit of attention. Here and there. Little white lines back there. So I got a nice set of buildings. I'm going to come back and maybe touch in a couple of those windows there when that dries. But I think it's time now to get out my big dark color for these telephone poles. I'm going to use burnt umber, and I think I'm going to use my burnt sienna, and I'm going to make myself some more gray over here. And I have a really dark color to them. It's almost too dark, but however, I don't think I want to use this round brush either. Where's my flat? A little 1/2 inch flat. Probably just about right. I don't know if it's going to be too... I like to be real dramatic and just go whoosh like that, but these things have to look reasonably representative. So I'm not going to do it that way. In oil painting, I might do that and just take it and go right over everything. But watercolors is just slightly tougher. Put a little brown in there. Change the color up here and there, so it's not all one gray color. Make sure you're seeing me through here. It's got to be darker than what's behind it or you won't see it. So if I get too light coming through here, you won't look right. Probably could use my big 1-inch brush for this just as well. If I'm going to paint sideways, I would paint it faster. Okay, probably kind of boring for you. Okay, now, I don't want this to look like it's glued in. So, it's always a good thing to come back and put something at the bottom to either show a shadow or show some other brush or something at the bottom to make it look like it's embedded in the landscape. So I'm just throwing in some more dark things here with the side of my brush. And it's over the top of this other color that I had under there, which is sort of a base color. And I could equally use my round brush for that, which works nicely. That rough texture is just where I'm sliding over the paper. Put some up here, some more over here. Okay, this one in the back, next one back here is a little bit, make it a little bluer, less black, I guess. It's not very long either. It's not very, probably can just do something like this. Like that. Darken it up just a little. Got a lot of objects in this painting, so we're taking a little longer than normal. We have another post that's right here. Like that. And we even have another one that's outside here on the back side of this guy. Something like that. Blend him in down here at the bottom. Put in some sort of bush or something so they actually look like they're part of the, they're actually embedded in the landscape. All right, and then this one in the front is probably the darkest of all. Give me a good dark burnt umber with some this happens. That guy is run out of paint and it just sort of turns to rough texture, which I may want to leave in there some of that. All right. see here. Get some of this blue and a little bit of my, man, come on here, I want a little bit of a gray. See if I can come back and touch this in and match that color. I probably can't. Okay, pretty close. All right, we'll just put in a few more bushes in here. All right, I'm kind of making it up as I go. More. Okay. Over here we got some more bushes and things that kind of connect up down here at the bottom. I want to make sure he's connected in. There's a nice shadow that was setting out there like this. And let's just pop in a few more scrub brushes while we're at it here. The actual color of those in the photograph are got more ochre in them than I put in them, but okay, there's that. What have I got left? I got this area back here. I'm going to put another bit of this orange, I think, in there. Sort of help pop in another tree with right in here. It's not quite bright enough. I want that to stand out a little bit. Okay, we'll just sort of rough brush it to the top and it'll stand out. Okay, over there. Pop in a few of these colors to help tie it together and give ourselves some harmony. There's an area under here I didn't finish. What am I going to do with that? See what I can do here. Okay, and that's going to be about the color of my windows. So I'm just kind of going over and putting a light gray glaze over some of this stuff that's got a lot of white sticking out. Okay, and then not much left here but to put in some vertical things that sort of tell us here this. I want these places wet that are going to be the reflections. So I'm putting clear water over these white areas that I'm going to call my reflections. And when I do that, it's going to soften that up so that it absorbs just a little bit of paint. And when I put in my reflections, I'm going to put in vertical brush strokes. Clear water, more clear water. So I left that all white of the paper. And I'm going to come back and pick up some of this grayish color and watch what happens when I pop it in here. All of a sudden you're starting to see it's those vertical brush strokes that tell you that's water. And as they dilute, they sort of, because the water underneath is letting them blend. That's the way you would make a lake with water. You wet it down first and then make vertical brush strokes in there. We'll put some of these other colors in there to give you the idea that we've got some other colors going on. I hope that's looking like reflections. That's what it's supposed to look like anyway. The water may be drying up on me right now. My studio, when I turn on all these lights, it gets kind of hot. Okay, so there's some distinction there, hopefully to make you realize those are reflections. Not a whole lot left to do here. I'm going to try to put in these lights up here above the, they're sticking out. I don't know how this will work. Let's see if I got something to rest my hand on. Something like that. There's another little one back here. Sticks out. I'm using this rigger. Like that. Now, we've got to do some more rigging. What this riggers are meant for was really why they're called riggers is because they actually to draw the rigging of ships, the thin lines of ships. So we have here, I make sure I got enough water in this because I don't want to run out of water in the middle of my rigging. Start here, like that. Put another one in, like that. Sort of a thing sticking on top of this. I don't know what it is, but it was up there. So sometimes I'm doing some things that are realistic and sometimes I'm just sort of ad-libbing it. So let's see here. Okay, there's another one. Back here we've got some that connect. How they go. Keep enough water in my brush. Keep that point together. So these sort of go like this. Like that. A couple that go back here like this. And they go on out. There's also a thing here that's like a transformer of some sort. That's going to be squared off. Doing stuff that's probably hard for you to see. There's little appendages hanging down here that are sort of like a, I don't know if that's a cable box connector. Something like that. I don't think it's electrical. I'm going to put a couple of those on here like that. Oh, let's see, what else? Shadow on the bottom of this thing. Okay, there's some sort of a thing here that goes like that. It sort of runs over like this. That house. So you're seeing how these houses are getting electrified or cable, I don't know which. There is actually one that goes over here, but I'm not going to do it. It's too long. I think it would destroy that whole area up there, so I'm not going to put that one in. When you paint it, you may do that if you want. Now I'm going to come around and just fill in some little calligraphy marks here, kind of highlight some of these windows type of thing so you can see a little better what they are. I'm just putting it on the shadow side. Now we said the sun was coming from our left, so put some of that in, highlight some of this. There's that. A couple of windows up here that I didn't put in. I think there's even a window of some sort in here that I left out. So I'm just touching up some of these things that sort of help finish it off, I think. One thing I like to do most times is to take my big brush full of water, the rigger brush, and we do this little thing called splattering. Sort of hit my finger and it takes paint, and it helps on roads and areas that would have debris and rocks and stuff like that laying around. You can just sort of put them in with something like this, and it helps loosen the painting up for one thing, and it makes a very interesting texture on that. I don't know if I need to do anything. So basically I want the eye movement to come in like this and go back this way. I should have probably a little more red in this bush right here. Your eye will tend to go towards something that's red usually. It's probably too red, but I'm going to use it. Gray it down a little bit. So these are sort of some bushes that are, I'm going to echo that over here with this. I have some of these bushes that are turning red. So I just leave myself a little line of red stuff through there. So your eye comes in this way, looks at that, looks around here, hopefully comes back around. I don't know if I can put some of that down here or not, but it's, highlight the top of these rocks just a little more. Need to stop now. I have to tell myself to stop. Put a little of that red here, it adds some harmony. Okay. Whoops. How's that looking? I think I'm going to maybe sign it over here and call it quits for today. We've been going, wow, hour and 46 minutes I've been painting. So it's been a lot of painting to do, a lot of objects. And I hope you get a chance to try this, and let me know how you do. Ask me some questions, and I'll try to answer them. I usually try to answer everything on Facebook. If you put a comment or a question or something, at least thank you for watching me anyway. More here. Okay. It's hard to see that. All right, I think I'm going to call that quits and zoom back my camera here and say thank you once again for joining me, folks. I'm glad so many people tuned in, and hope you like this painting. I hope you give it a try, and if you do have some questions, give me a holler. I'll be glad to try to answer anything I can. And check out my website, check out my Facebook page, and if you like, there's a place in there for you can even contribute to my success, there's a thing called Patreon, which people can contribute to. I'd like to have some folks do that if you wish. I do get paid for these videos a little bit by YouTube, but anything helps pay the expenses for the paints and the paper and all of that. So if you like the paintings, like to try them, you're free to use these, free to copy them. There's no copyright infringement. So if you want to paint this just as it is, get the sketch off of my website and give it a try. And like I say, ask me some questions. I'll be glad to try to answer and help you out if I can. And so until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye. I'll zoom in for you here. Okay. Thank you folks for tuning in. See you next time. Remember, my next painting session will be the 3rd Wednesday of March. It'll be oils, and 4th Wednesday of March will be watercolors again. So I'm going to stop my streaming now and wish you all a good day.